Okay, I'd like to say good evening and welcome. This is the meeting of the Joint Committee of Infrastructure and the Board of Public Works. Today is March 24, 2022, and the time is 6:08, we'll go with. And the meeting is held at Nashua High North at 8 Titan Way. Again, like to welcome everybody. There was a previous meeting at 4 o'clock that did have a little bit of a run over of many of our fellow committee members on the Board of Public Works. They should be filtering in, but keeping in mind there's going to be another meeting immediately following this. So if we're trying to get the train back on track and on schedule. So without objection, when the members come in, we will recognize them and record that their presence is here. So without further ado, I will ask Mr. Cummings if he could call the roll, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair. For the record, Tim Cummings, Director of Economic Development. Mayor Donchis.
Here.
Alderman Dowd.
Present.
Alderman Jetty.
Here.
Alderman Como.
Present.
Alderman Gouvier.
Here.
Alderman O'Brien.
Present.
Commissioner Shea.
Present.
Commissioner Lemon. Commissioner Shoneman. Commissioner Moriarty.
Here.
All are present and counted for. Mr. Chair, you have quorum.
Yes, and also just coming in is the Director of Public Works, Lisa Poto has made it. And again, we're expecting more people. Well, I think actually we do have the full committee of the Board of Public Works, so that's good. All right, I will now, next on the agenda is public comment. Anybody for public comment? Seeing none, we'll go to item number 3 on the agenda, is the approval of the minutes. Without objection, I'll call for a motion to accept the minutes of January 27th, 2022.
I would make that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Moriarty. I say, you guys second your motions, don't you? No. Good. We'll stand that alone. And any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the we could do it with a voice vote. I think we have majority of members. Yeah. All those in favor then signify by voice by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 4 on the agenda, general purpose update. I am now going to offer that to Director Cummings and to introduce the review of Harvey Construction with this.
Great.
So, Director Cummings.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to quickly just hand it over to the project manager, Dov Jaffe, who's with us this evening, where he's going to give everyone just a quick overview in terms of where we're at with the construction project, hoping to have a brief overview from him, and then open it up to a Q&A. This is the only substantive matter on the agenda this evening. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I've handed out a packet with a little bit of information about the project. Over the last 2 months or so, we've been busy getting the buyout completed for the job, getting all subcontractors on board. The most substantial work has been in site work, clearing trees, setting up erosion and sediment controls, removing unsuitable soils from the foundation and under the road, and preparing for foundations. The rest of the activity has been mostly administrative, submittal reviews and approvals, and making selections and reviewing the project. There are quite a few long lead items for a short project, so those have been identified and expedited the submittal approval process so that those can be released to fabrication. Those are items such as the emergency generator, electrical switchgear, and things of that nature. We have mobilized a field office trailer, and we'll keep that there through the duration of the project. On the next page is a list of the subcontractors that are in place to perform the work for the job. I won't go through them one by one. Coming up over the next month, we're looking at the getting foundations in place. To then be followed by structural steel, under slab plumbing, backfilling, and placing slabs. I've included a copy of the project schedule. This was updated as of March 11th. Really, the most activity there is site clearing, grubbing, and getting ready for foundations. But you'll note that the critical path follows through the red bars. Those are the items that will be the main focus to maintain the project. For the financial summary, just list the contract sum. The GMP to Harvey Construction is about $10.5 million, of which we have billed about $100,000 for the month of February. And no change orders were presented in the last month. I included a few photos. The first photo is the excavation, actually the backfill, after unsuitable materials were excavated. This is within the corner of the footprint of the foundation. The next picture is some materials that were underneath the roadway that wouldn't be conducive to a solid road. So those are being removed and replaced with good material. And the beginning of excavation for footings. That's the update.
Okay, I do have one question. Was something out there with the permitting. How are we doing with that, Director Photo? Can you give us an update on that, if you don't mind, please?
We actually received our foundation permit.
Mike.
It was green, so I thought it was on. We actually received our foundation permit today, so that's exciting news, and Harvey, I think, is ready to go next week.
Yeah, our first concrete placement is now scheduled for Tuesday.
Okay. So all the ducks are in a row, and so we seem to be going good.
So far, so good.
Okay. Anybody else and members of the committee, any questions? Alderman Jettie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, at the last meeting, Carl Dubois was talking, I had asked, and I think the mayor also had asked about, how we were going to be, heating the building, and, the concern that I have, and I think that it's shared by others, is, the city has a plan to get away from fossil fuels, as does the country now, and with this, war, everyone is aware of the the prices are going up, and it's even more important that we get away from fossil fuels. And at a couple of meetings ago, the architect said that she would look into alternatives, and then at the last meeting, Mr. Dubois was saying that they were looking at using the heat from the generator, which is powered by the methane from the landfill, to produce hot water. And then there was also using electricity that would be generated, that is generated from the burning of that methane. And he said they were looking into that. Is there any progress been made? Did the architect ever do the study that she talked about?
I can't speak to the study. As part of Harvey's proposal, included an alternate to install hot water supply and return piping on the site to bring to capture that heat from the generator and bring it to this new building. And I believe that alternate is still under consideration by the city.
Okay.
It is still under consideration. It's going to cost some additional money, though, that we don't have in our current budget, and we're still working on what those numbers are. We're working with Doria Brown, our energy manager. We have made some progress, though, with the electricity, which is sort of exciting.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
We've made some progress with So there's two pieces. There's the heat for the building, and then there's the electricity. As far as the electricity goes, we will be using the electricity that's produced from the generators at the landfill. So that'll be coming off the EPP. Of course, for those of you who don't understand, what they do is they take the methane from our landfill, and then they generate electricity on the grid with that. So they will be buying all of the poles in the landfill from Eversource, and we'll be getting our electricity from EPP and those generators now. So that's some progress that we've made that we're excited about, and that'll actually result in a cost savings to the city. So that's good news. But we're still working on the heat portion of it. We do still have redundancy because in the event that those generators go down, we would still need to have heat in the building. But we are looking at the possibility of using the heat from those generators to produce heat for our building. And I think we'll be successful in that. But there will be a cost associated, which once we determine exactly what that is, we'll bring that to the board. Both
Can I
boards.
follow up?
Follow up?
So is the plan now to heat the building with hot water? Is that,
Natural gas,
the natural gas is going to heat hot water?
yes,
So it's a
Yes.
hot water system, not forced hot air?
yes. Yes.
That's correct.
Okay. And is that, and we also have to, will be air conditioning the building?
Yes.
Okay. So is that, forgive me for sounding so naive, but if you're going to be using, air conditioning, where I assume you're blowing cold air throughout the building, why would we be using hot water instead of hot air to heat the building?
I'm going to let Harvey answer that question.
I can't speak to the design of the HVAC of the building.
I'm sorry?
I can't speak to the design of the HVAC of the building. I was not involved in that process.
Okay.
That's probably an architect question. We could get that answer for you, though.
Yeah.
I think refer to Alderman Dowd, who may have some experience with other buildings on this matter. Can you help out Alderman Jettie, please?
Yes, I don't know what the cooling design is. That's an architect question. The architect has to answer all design questions. Harvey Construction is bills to the plans given to them by the architect. So if it's an architect question, that should probably be answered by, and I can't remember her name off the top of my head.
Janice Slamenda.
Yeah, Janice. So perhaps if she could, it's tough to be on lines, but maybe she could come to the next meeting. The other, couple other minor things. One is we mentioned the critical path, and I'm sure you'll update us on the critical path every meeting. If you miss something on the critical path, there's only two options. You either delay the opening of the building, or you find a solution to get back on the critical path. That's the red line on your drawing. The other thing is, I had a talk with Tim, and I'm not going to get into the PCO, PCCO. Tim knows all about that. But for Director Cummings, invoices, Harvey's going to want to get paid, I'm sure. The architect's going to want to get paid. So the invoices, I'll give you a plan and see how it goes. The invoices come to this committee for approval, and they go to finance for approval. And then they get paid at finance.
Okay.
That work?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Because I'm sure they want to get paid, and we were just having a discussion about having a meeting at least once a month, because that's how often they want to get paid. Every joint special, we have to approve the invoices for several companies to get paid, so.
Cool. I want to just make sure we talk to the finance department to make sure we're following whatever the process is, that
Mike?
Thank you. Yeah, again, for the record, Tim Cummings, Director of Economic Development. I'm just going to want to check this process that's being suggested with the finance department to make sure it follows with their protocols and follow whatever process that the finance department has in place.
Okay. Director Photo, Alderman Jettie does have, a good point. But I do know in other projects, and I think Alderman Dow can probably attest, there was discussions in the past of geothermal as one of the projects. And that proved out to be very cost inhibitive, I think, and looking at that. So can you refer back to the architect to maybe have better answers for Alderman Jettie, so
I absolutely will.
that
I've
by our
already made
April 28th meeting, that could be brought up. I'm sure at this stage of the game, the building doesn't exist. And AC, I think we can get through this summer without AC, but, you know, to do that.
Yeah.
Alderman Dow, did you have any?
Yeah, just to
More
follow
on
up,
that?
as far as the geothermal, I think we had discussions early on, and digging very deep holes for geothermal at a landfill with the potential water flow underneath is probably risky. The other thing is, in the schools, we use distributed air. And if anybody wants to take a look at the schools, the air comes in on the floor level, heated or cooled, goes through and it gets exhausted up through the top. Not in here, but in the new schools, we all use distributed air. I think that's what Alderman Jettie was referring to, that, you know, if you use hot water, air conditioning has to be a different way, so your HVAC system would probably be addressing only air conditioning. I don't think we want air conditioning units in every window, so there's got to be another alternative. Again, that's an architect question.
Okay, any other questions? Commissioner Shea?
I'd like to echo Alderman Jettie's kind of interest in this area. I recognize that for the new commissioners here, we're kind of coming late to the process, and the opportunity for implementation of any sort of changes is a tough prospect, if not impossible, without delay of the project. In hearing about the HVAC systems, it sounds like we'll be burning off of the generator using the hot water that can produce to heat the building, and that system generates electricity, and that the heating system may be adequately, the needs for the building may be addressed by that hot water piece. I'd be interested to know if the electrical demands of the building will be satisfied by that process as well. And if not, if there might be some opportunity to deploy solar to address any gap between the service from the generator and the needs of the building. Thank you.
So I can answer that question. So there's plenty of heat from the generators to be able to both power and provide the heat for the building. And Doria Brown, our energy manager, has done that analysis for us, and she's continuing to look at it. But she believes that'll be the way to go, to use the heat from the generators at the landfill. It'll make more sense.
Yeah, that's great. And my understanding is
She did look at solar.
the capture and usage of that gas is superior in terms of environmental impact to just letting it off gas to atmosphere. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure.
Alderman Dow?
Just one other piece of advice is that when we're doing the school projects, we have several iterations of the drawings for the building. And that's when, you know, we talk to the schools and everybody make changes. But when you get to construction documents, which I assume we have now since we're building the building,
We do.
that any changes to the drawings are very expensive.
Yes.
And only in the most dire reasons for change should they even be considered, because that's going to up the price of the building.
And to Alderman Dowd's point, I think that was presented in one previous meeting, that, you're right, once it is nailed, it'll cost you. So that was discussed, I think, at Riverside Drive at that meeting when we were bringing that up. Director Cummings?
Yes, so to that point, and again, just to kind of reiterate what was said, so if you want to make the change relative to the methane being used for heating of the building, We're still working on that. We will get that bundled up to a package, and we would be seeking additional monies from the Board of Aldermen to do it in that direction. If that is the desire of this body, you'd make a recommendation, and then we would further it on to the Board of Aldermen, who would have the approval process. But happy to continue in that stead.
Yeah. Alderman Jettie.
Thank you. I just want to remind everyone that you know, I understand what you're saying about going back and making changes, but I brought this up last year. And the architect said, yes, we can look at those alternatives and come back with numbers. And that was, I don't know, November, December? It's been several months, and nothing's ever come back. And so, you know, to be non-responsive and then say, well, now it's too late, you know, is a little irritating to me.
Alderman Dowd.
Not necessarily too late. You can make a change. I think there's also an alternative in the design for the different heating system. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So it's already been taken into consideration in the construction documents. So that's may not be as big a change as if you just started today and said, whoop, they've already got that into the plan. So I think the architects can make that change relatively easy. But I think there would be some cost involved. But I think from the results of that previous discussion we had at the previous meeting, that the architect took that into consideration, gave Harvey an alternative design, and I'm assuming DPW or this board has to make a determination on the final design. But other types of design changes, like if you wanted to add another floor, or you wanted to add another room or something like that, gets very expensive. In this instance, there's an alternative for what you were proposing, so it's already been taken into consideration in the bid and in the architecture.
Alderman Jettie.
Yeah, so I remember the architect saying, you know, I can, you know, look into that and come back to you with numbers. And, you know, I haven't heard anything from her since. I don't know if anyone else has. But.
Director Cummings.
Thank you. So actually, I'm going to provide some additional clarity. Actually, the conversation first arose last. Thank you. So I'm going to add some additional clarity. This conversation actually first arose last August. And at that time, when this issue was raised it was in the DPW conference room, I and some others made it very explicit that yes, we could do it, but we were so far along in the process, it was actually going to cost us more money. That conversation did not change when it was brought up again this fall. And we said, yes, we would be able to do it, but it was going to cost us some extra money. We were in August actually starting construction documents. So construction documents were being completed, actually, or were 50% of the way through come this summer, so we could actually make this spring start for actually bringing the building online in terms of construction. The plan that I had put together, taking into the consideration the comments made by Alderman Jettie and in consultation with Carl Dubois, we held aside about $100,000 as an allowance, which is what I think is being referred to. But that is not going to be enough to actually cover the cost. There's going to be design changes, and then actually when we got the final estimates, it turned out to be more like $170,000. So we know that it's probably, and there's some additional costs beyond that that are still a little bit unknown. So we're going to be a couple to a few $100,000 for this change. We did the best we could for planning for it, but we just want to make sure it's clear that if we make this change, we're going to need some additional money. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think if I may, the question has been asked, so if you can work with Director Cummings, with Director Photo, to have these questions answered prior to the April 28th meeting. At least release the document, so that way, if it does want to come up in discussion again, people will have the information prior to the
And we'll
April
try-
28th.
We'll try to do that, but I think another point of clarity is that we always said that we would do this at the end of the project, that this wasn't going to be at the beginning of the project. We need natural gas. There's no
Correct.
two ways about it. We have to have natural gas because we have to have redundancy. So this doesn't have to be done, immediately. We have prepared the building so that it can accept that. And we're working with EPP. Again, this is a pretty complex process. So we're working with EPP. We are moving forward. We haven't abandoned that. If this board decides that they want to, appropriate additional funds to do it, we'll certainly move forward with it. So it isn't something that we in any way are not working on or have just forgotten about. So we're in active discussions. Our energy manager, Doria Brown, is in active discussions with EPP, and so we're definitely moving forward, but we will need the approval of this board for the additional funds to.
No, I-
It's going to be about, roughly about $300,000, I think. Could
No,
be
I-
more, because we're not complete, but around that.
I do concur to rely on one priority system without a redundant backup. Natural gas is out there, but, yeah.
We can't be in the middle of a snowstorm and have have the generators go down and not be able to heat the building.
Point
That would be a
well taken.
disaster.
Alderman Dowd.
Yeah, I just want to point out that the joint special next month is April 21st because school is closed. So if you're going to have it the 28th, you'll have to arrange with the school to get it open. The building.
If here, okay.
So joint special is the 21st, the week before, because it's the last week in April, school vacation. School is out.
We will look into that.
We could do it on the 21st if that's what the desire.
I'm amenable to that. If everybody else is, we can look at that, discuss that to the 21st. Is that a good time to bring it up right now while it's fresh? Everybody without objection? Next meeting of this committee will be on April 21st while the school is open. Other than that, we're going to have to meet in the parking lot. Okay, all right then.
I know I'll be here the 21st, so.
Okay. Thank you, Alderman Dow. We'll share with you on the 21st. Any other item to be brought up? Okay, without anything else, yesterday, just so the public knows, was the groundbreaking ceremony. It was held at the Four Hills landfill. Was well attended. I think it's a joyous day. Finally, that this project shovel is in the dirt, and we get to see some process. I'd like to thank Harvey Construction because they did supply cake for the item for celebration afterwards. I would have preferred chocolate cake, but I'm not going to get hung up on that. But the cake was nice, and I think it was, finally, we've waited a long time. Our employees have waited a long time. The building that they're currently using is permeated by rats and other critters and stuff like that. So we're in a step in the right direction. So a joyous occasion, so to say the least. So I'm glad we're on the right step. So moving on from item number 4 to item number 5, without objection, older miscellaneous business items. We have nothing on the agenda. Seeing none, there will entertain a motion to adjourn so we can get ready for our next meeting. Alderman Dowd.
Since I have the next meeting, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion accepted. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 6:42.